So the concept master routine is similar to a graphic organizer. It just helps us understand concepts a little bit easier. So, since we're talking about budgeting, our first box is going to be convey the concept name. So, I just said it, but what's the concept name we're talking about?
Budgeting.
Good. And our second box will tell us the overall concept name. So, since we're in our making economic choices unit, that'll just be our overall concept name. So, making economic choices, what we'll put there. Because budgeting is a huge part in making economic choices and being smart with your money and everything like that. And since this will help you guys maybe when you get a little bit older, talking about budgeting, when you start getting jobs and you start wanting to save up for things and stuff like that. So now we're going to note our key words. So we're going to talk about these. Our first one is going to be goal. So I want you to, with your partner that you're sitting next to, just discuss what you think the definition of a goal is, or what you think a goal is.
What you want to get done.
Yeah, it's like what you want to get done. Accomplished.
We talked about it. Does anybody want to share what they think a goal is?
What you want to get done.
Yeah, what you want to get done, or what you want to get. So we're going to put an object of a person's effort. Does that make sense to everybody?
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like your end. You put the effort in, and this is what you get at the end, your goal. So you could think of it like you're working hard, you're making money, and you want to buy a new car at the end. So you're going to work and make money, and then eventually your goal will be to buy a new car. Our next one is going to be income. Has anybody heard that word before?
Income?
Income.
Is that like how much money you make?
Yes, exactly. Sam got it right. So money received through work that you do. So we'll put money that you make. Our next word is expenses. So you guys can talk with your partners, try and figure out what you think expenses means.
Stuff you have to spend.
Bills,
Yeah.
groceries. You need to spend maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, I heard some good examples coming from Sam. Do you want to say those?
Like your electricity bills or water bills,
Yeah.
and then like groceries or things you want to buy.
Yeah, those are good examples. Did you girls have anything?
We talked about bills, and then like you have to pay off stuff. or
Yeah,
else
perfect.
stuff there.
So expenses are the costs required for something. So like bills. We'll put bills in the example. Okay, our last very important keyword is savings. So I'm sure all of you are familiar with this. Raise your hand if you have a savings account in the bank. No, everybody should probably have a savings account in the bank by now. So savings is just saving up, putting your money away for something until you need it. So we'll put that down. Okay, so now we got all of our keywords down. So now we're going to classify characteristics of a budget and budgeting. So these characteristics kind of tie in with our keywords. So we're going to start with income. So to know how to budget, you need to know how much money you're making. We can't start anything until you know your income. So we can put in here, these are just kind of like baseline questions if you just want to ask yourself when you're creating a budget. How many of you have jobs right now?
Wait. I'm on my dad's lawn.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's good. Or like an allowance or, yeah, something like that. So you need to take that into consideration because you can't spend money that you don't have. So another characteristics is identifying expenses for necessary items. What do I mean by necessary items?
Things you need.
Things you need. What would be things you need? Water.
Food.
Food.
Shelter.
Shelter. Just basic life necessities. So, what question could we put to make sure we understand that we need to buy those things first before we buy things that we want? Kind of a want versus need thing.
Prioritize.
Prioritize. That's a good one. Okay, our last characteristic is identifying goals for future expenses. Now we're going more from a need to a want. So we talked about goals, and I mentioned like buying a new car, but that would take a long time to save up, especially for you guys. You don't need a car yet, but if we want to save up for something or if we're waiting to buy something, we want to make sure that we're not spending it on other things we want. So if you're saving up to buy a new pair of shoes, you don't want to buy a t-shirt in between. You want to save that money for the t-shirt that you would have spent on the t-shirt. Save it for your new shoes. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So we can talk about... We'll put understand goals. Okay, now we're going to go into explore examples. So now we're going to talk about the article that we were talking about yesterday for our examples and non-examples. The chefs had $1.25 to make their meals. So we're going to kind of talk about prioritized spending over here and understanding your goals. So what are some examples that they could buy with their $1.25? Some things they might get. Food, yeah. Any specific kind of food or just
A candy bar.
candy bar? So in the end, they made, it was like chicken with rice or something. So that's what they spent their money on. It was just their end goal. Their end goal was to make a healthy, kind of cheap meal. So what are some things that they would not buy? Non-examples. Just
A car.
anything. A car. Yep.
A stove.
What?
A stove.
Yeah, they wouldn't buy a stove. The stove is probably already there for them. Anything else?
A puppy.
Just very unrealistic goals for them to buy. It just wouldn't make sense for their goal and their budget. Okay, now we're going to think about new examples. So these are just going to be questions for you guys to do on your own. So they're going to be these questions. What do you spend your money on? So the money that you're making right now, just think about some things like maybe it is a new t-shirt or food or candy or getting into sporting events, stuff like that. What do you spend your money on? I want you to reflect on that. And then what do you want to buy? What's your goal? Do you want to save up for a car? You could start now. You started now, and by the time you turn 16, you probably would have enough money for a car. Or is it something smaller, like a candy bar? Or a new pair of shoes, or whatever. So just think about that. And then, for your goal, do you have enough in your savings? And if you don't, what are you going to do to make sure that you save up? Are you going to stop buying one thing and start saving up, or whatever, for whatever you want? Okay, now we're going to end this CER, which again helps us kind of understand the concept of budgeting a little bit better. We're going to end with the definition of budgeting. So from what we talked about, what are some things that we could put down there, do you think?
For budgeting?
For budgeting, yeah.
You should have a goal in mind.
Yes, that's good to think about. A goal in mind. Anybody else?
You need to balance your income and expenses.
Mm-hmm. Good use of keywords. So we could put knowing your income
And your expenses?
and your expenses and saving up for a goal in mind. Does that work for everybody?
I like it.
All right. Okay, so that is our CER on budgeting. I hope that you guys will use this concept graphic organizer maybe in other classes. Maybe we'll use it again in this class. But it just helps us understand the concept a little bit better.